All right, in this third part of this video series for the OpenAI continued conversation, I'm going to be working on number 3. The thing that I'm going to introduce today, which is setting the stage for some really advanced stuff that we're going to do in the future, is the ability to bring in supporting information. It gives you the opportunity to add in extra newer information. Right? So one of the difficulties that's largely faced when you're working with a system, especially right now, is that the models at OpenAI, their knowledge was cut off at June 2021. So they're a year and a half, almost 2 years old now, right? So there's a lot of new information that's come out since then about whatever. And so this idea of this supporting information that comes just before the question, but after everything else, right? Gives you a nice place to update some information. Be like, oh, FYI, there was a new thing that came out. It does this. This was just discovered. It doesn't do that. You know what I mean? You can kind of correct the AI and some of its false assumptions that it has because it's got old information. All right, so that's the idea of what we're trying to do with this supporting information. Let's dive in and get to it. I have made a copy. So this is a copy of the version 2 that I had out, which I know is not available for copy yet, but it will be. I'm working on it. Basically, all I did was copy that one, and the difference between 1 and 2 is that number 2 has the introduction of the starters. So what I'm doing is I'm now going to introduce another table. So let's go to the data source and add in another table. All right. Here in my source, I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to add in, I'm going to call this supporting info. All right. What do we need for supporting info? Okay, well, it's probably pretty close to the starters. So let's just come to the starters and take what's here. And not there, up here. There we go. But I'm going to want to replace all of the starter with supporting info, right? So I'm just going to do a find and replace and say starter and replace that with sup info. Nice little abbreviation. There we go. Smarter, not harder, right? All right, so now I've got my basic columns that I stole from the other table, right? Where I've got a title and I've got the text that I want to use. Okay, the other thing that I want to throw inside here that I don't have on the starter table is I want to throw in a token count, right? Because it would be nice to know how big is this piece of information that I'm trying to provide. Because there's a token limit, right? You only have so much space that you can work with. And if I've got an instruction set that's quite large, and I've got a thread history that's growing bigger every time, you know what I mean? Like, eventually you're going to run out of room. And so you need a way to where you can be aware of like where we stand to begin with, right? So like my instructions, and this is a thing that I'm probably going to do in this video as well. It's just kind of like a cleanup thing, is add a way to get the tokens for the starter. Because it's nice to know all of this, because like with no thread history or anything like that, you know, I can know, oh, well, I've got a giant instruction set and a whole bunch of supporting information. I've already used up 1,500 tokens. All right, 4,000 is the limit. So, you know, but depending on the model you're using. All right, so on my supporting info table, I got title, I got a space for my text, and I got a space for the tokens, right? Maybe the other thing that I'll add in here is like a description where I could type in a really brief, like 1 sentence type of thing, talking about what this supporting information is supposed to be for. Who knows? If we don't use it, we don't use it. Whatever, doesn't matter, right? All right, so this is my table that I'm gonna start with here. Just a title, the text, description, the tokens, an ID, and a creation date, just so I can order them nicely. I got my table here, so I'm going to go back to AppSheet, refresh my app so that I get the new table available. And that probably won't work. Hey, it did work. Awesome. Add the new supporting table into the mix. Okay, here we are with the supporting info table added to the app. Now let's go and make sure the columns are what they need to be. So the title, I want to make this the label, not the ID. Okay, the ID is marked as the key, but I want to hide this because I don't want to see it. Creation date is a date. I want that to be a date time, and I want to hide that. Okay, we come over here. So the ID has unique ID. This doesn't need to be today. This needs to be now. Okay, that way we get a time on it. And I'm going to unsearch those because they're hidden. All right, so the title is a text. Good enough. The text needs to be a long text. And I'm going to make this markdown supported. The description is a long text. I'm going to make that markdown supported. And then the tokens. All right, this needs to be a number. And all right, that should be good. Get all that so it saves. Cool. Now let's make a view to view this table. I don't want a histogram. It gave me a suggestion, but it wasn't good enough. I would like a supporting info. Call that that. I'm going to come down here and give this a nice I for info. Yeah. All right. I'd like this to be a table. I'm going to sort this by the creation date descending. So all the new stuff is always at the top. Yeah. And then like, we could probably just leave this as it is. Well, all right. Since the description is after the text, I'm going to reorder those. So I want it to be like that. Now let's put something here, right? So, test, blah, 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 blah. Put some line breaks in there so that we've got, some stuff going on. Okay. So here we go. I think, this would look better as probably as a deck, maybe. Because then I can say, like, the primary header is the title, the supporting is the description, and then we can hide everything else. We can turn off the actions. Yeah, and like if I go in here and then like I give this a description, just a test. So that we have something so it looks nice, you know what I mean? Save it so it propagates. Let's see where we can go from here. All right. So, yeah, right? Yeah, just a test. Not bad. Okay. So now I've got the ability where I can come inside here and I can start creating records that hold whatever kind of information that I want these records to hold. You know what I mean? It could be, now I'm calling it supporting information, but it doesn't, like, that's just a title that I'm putting on this thing. It's a field where you can put whatever you want inside it, right? The real idea is that this is a reusable bit of text that comes at the bottom of the prompt. That's really the thing that I'm setting up here, is we've got a system that we're building, right? That allows us to reuse something at the top of the prompt. We have the thread history of what's going on, and we have some way to reuse stuff in the bottom, and then the actual prompt. So that's all that we're really doing. So it doesn't have to be supporting information. Like I said, this could be anything. It could be another set of instructions that you put at the bottom, like reminders of something, whatever you wanted to do. But we got the space to put that sort of details here now. Okay, that's part one. Right? The ability to add data into the mix. So like I'm going to create a real one here. So in AppSheet, I've specified that if we go back and I show you on the messages table, right, in the response, it's long text. And I've specified, well, okay, I haven't, but I will. I'm going to specify that it can use markdown here. Okay. So now that I've turned on the ability for the AI to return markdown. You saw I could do HTML there too, but that's a different thing. We'll talk about it later. So the AI can use markdown now, right? But I have to tell it what it can do and what it can't do. So this is a perfect example of what the supporting information is good for. I can come in and I can create a new supporting information, and I can call this markdown. I'll call this supported markdown. Right? And now the thing that I'm going to do is I know that there's only certain things that are supported. So I'm going to go to the community and I'm going to look for rich text. Yep. And so on this preview thing, on this announcement one, somewhere in the middle. Yeah, here we go. So here's all of the HTML tags that are supported. And then here's all of the markdown that's supported. Okay, so I want to take this list, copy that, and I'm going to put that basically inside here. All right, now let's clean this up a little bit, give this some instructions. So this bit right here that I'm putting inside this supporting info text box, this is the thing that I'm actually going to send to the AI. This is the actual bit, right? So what do I want? So this is when responding, you may use markdown to format the text. The following is supported, right? And then like I'll make this bullet point, and now it's a list of all of this stuff, just like that. And then I'll give this a supported markdown. Instructions on how to use markdown. Yeah, something like that, right? Okay, so that's the idea. So now you see where I'm going with this. Now, anytime that I wanted to tell this thing that it could use markdown, I can just include this inside the prompt. So let's make a way to include this inside the prompt. What do I need to do? All right, well, if I'm talking about I need a way to select something, then that means that I need a field where I can make the selection, right? So the easiest place to put that is inside the messages place, because that's where the person's typing in what they want. So it makes sense that that's a good place for them to say, this is the stuff I want to include as well. So let's go to our table, go to the messages, right? And come inside here and we can say, so right here, I've got a column for where they can select the starter. And so I'm going to add something right after this where it's going to be the message supporting info. Just like that. Yep. Wait for it to save. Come back here, messages, regenerate the table to grab the new column. Cool. So this is going to give us the ability to select what kind of information we want to use, right? So if we come here, supporting info selected. Okay, so we need to tell this, it's not a text. I want this to be an enum list. That's a base type reference to the supporting info table. I want it to be a drop down, and the valid if, I want this to be everything in the supporting info table. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to copy the name of the table. I'm going to drop that here. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to copy the name of the ID. And I'm going to put that in square brackets. This is what I call a table call. I don't know. I don't think there's an actual official word for this. But what this does is it basically goes to the supporting info table and it grabs every value inside whatever column you specify. So I've specified supporting info ID. So this turns into a list of every ID that's available over in that table. All right. It's a shorthand for a select statement. I could also write this out in a select where I would say select supporting info ID, comma, true. Where I'm just saying, give me everything. Since I want everything, I don't need to do the select stuff. I can just do this sort of shorthand type of thing. Happy days. So this gets a list of all of the supporting info that's available over there, right? And now let's give this a nice name of supporting info. And I can give it a description of what supporting info would you like to include in the bottom of the prompt, right? Nice little question that somebody can answer. Boom. Let's save it so it propagates. And then we can come back and we can see, what does this look like in the form? All right, so if we zoom in a little bit, if we go to threads and we just pick up something that's already started, right? And we go into the message. Now we've got this supporting info down here that we can add. And so, boom, I can add in my markdown there. All right. So that gets me the ability to where now I can select what I need, right? The next part of this is I need to take whatever the person has selected here and add that into the actual prompt that we're sending into the AI. So this is all done in automation. So let's head on over there now. Okay, go to our bot, go to our get response, right? And our get response task. If we come down here to the prompt that we're using, we go in here, right? All right, so I want to add this after the interaction history, but before the current question. All right, so I'm gonna come in here and let's start messing with what we've got, right? And I actually kind of want to clean this up a little bit more. You see how I've got like these labels for things like this? Okay, I don't have one for like the current question. I think I want one on that. I think I do. So I'm going to like drop this down and I'm going to throw in current question. Yeah. Current question. I'll stick with the word question, right? And then it'll drop down here and then it'll be like, that's our question. And then this little thing down here is like a nice thing to tell the system, hey, it's your turn to respond. All right, now I want to add here in the middle here between the interaction history and the current question in here, I want to conditionally add something, right? So break out of the text because I'm, the double quote thing, I'm in the middle of a text block. So break out of that. And now let's do an if statement. So I want to say ifs, because I don't want anything here if there's nothing here. So ifs, and if I come down here and I copy the name of this column, that is my supporting info enum list. So ifs, that is not blank, right? Then what I want to do is I want to start a concatenate where I'm going to say, okay, so now this is where you got to keep in mind where you're starting. So I'm starting on a new line directly after this like horizontal line that's going to be there. Okay. So here, the supporting info, first thing I need is another one of these little tags, right? So supporting info, right? And then I'm going to drop down to a line. And then right after that, this is where I want to start doing something very similar to like what I did here, where I'm substituting out, okay, and instead of doing that, okay, I see what I was doing here. The thing that I want to do is I want to make another substitute, okay, and then I want to take the supporting info, I want to concatenate this all out. So I want to say, take all of the items from the supporting info, and then from these, I want to list dereference the text that's from them, right? So like this, whatever's in here, I want to take that. So I'm going to copy this and come back to my formula. And we'll put it right here after the supporting info, but with no dot because it's a list. If we close the concatenate, that will write out this whole thing with a space, comma, space as the separator. Okay, so then I can come in here and I'm in a substitute now and I can say, so substitute out the space, comma, space for a line break. So instead of just doing a space, comma, space, now it's going to drop to a new line. So every new bit of supporting information is on its own new line. Cool. I think that's good enough for me for now. So I'm going to drop down. We will close the concatenate and close the ifs, okay? And then we will open the quote that we're on and make sure we're good. All right, so now if this doesn't exist, right, then this quote and this quote are right next to each other. We can preview what that would look like by just like coming here and hitting delete. So this is what it will look like otherwise. All right, so I want to get rid of one of these extra line breaks. So like that. Okay. Now if I preview what this will look like, so I come here, delete that. That's what it'll look like if there is no supporting info. And this is exactly how I want it to be. Perfect. All right. So now this Wait for it to turn green. All right. So happy days, man. This is starting to look pretty good. So what do we got here? My prompt that I'm sending. I see what I'm doing. Hold on. Let me get back to here. There we go. Hey, here we go. All right, so we look at our prompt. What do we got? We've got our instruction set all the way up here. We've got our interaction history. We've got any supporting info that currently may be there, right? If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. Cool. And then our last question. Cool. Now, the thing we got to do now is test all of this and see if it works. There we go. Save this. Save this and see if we broke something. Nope. All right. So it seems happy. All right. So let's go over here and try it, shall we? So if we go to threads, what is this? Okay. So this is, what is AppSheet good for in the office? And then the second question is, how can I use it to keep track of my timesheets? Okay. And now I want to say, okay, give me a quick bulleted list of the primary uses I could employ. Right? And I'm going to include the markdown bit. If we kick that off. Yeah. Okay. All right. You see how it's taking a while? Anytime that you're working with this AI stuff, anytime that it's sitting here and it's chewing on it for a minute, it's always a good sign. That means it's probably working. All right. Give me a oh, this must be the pirate one. Here be a list of the primary uses you can employ with AppSheet. Streamline business operations and communications. More quickly input, analyze, and visualize. I'm looking for pirate stuff now. Nope. Doesn't have. So the bullet points aren't pirate. But the text on the outside is the pirate. Oh, that's fun. The point, if you're paying attention, is check it out. It has a bulleted point. It's using bulleted points. And if we go in and we look at the actual response, you'll see it's using, that's marked down bullet points right there. Hey, happy days. So, that's the basic ones and twos of how to get all of that set up. From here, it's really just a matter of coming up with your supporting info that you want to include, which again could be not supporting info. It could be instructions for whatever you want it to do. Happy days. It really kind of dawned on me the other day that the system that this app is basically like an AI prototype. It's an AI prototyping system. Which, if you think about it, in this day and age with, the AI, is a real hot buzzword and all that, it's a very valuable thing. And, I'm just giving it away. Fuck it. Who cares? It's an AI prototyper, right? So you can use this system to come up with your instruction set that you're trying to, if you have an idea for, hey, we could use this OpenAI thing to do something. This system that I'm showing you how to build right here is basically a way for you to prototype that. You can go in there and create an instruction set and then start a thread and start running through it and see how it goes. And if it goes sideways, you can copy that starter, create another one and change it. You know what I mean? And where are we going? Where does this lead to? Right? And you can keep iterating on things. You could take a thread that you ran through one and you could run that exact same thing through a different starter over here. So you can get an A/B test going on. This OpenAI Convo sample app that's available, and I'm gonna bring number 2 and number 3 online here in the next week, is a way for you to legit hardcore sit down and develop an AI system that you could then bring to market. I have several. As soon as I started showing this to some of my clients, they jumped on it. And you should see the stuff that they're starting to come up with. It's What a good time to be alive. Just say that. What a time to be alive. All right. That's all I got on this one.